After a series of interventions, Ondo State Deputy Governor Lucky Ayedatiwa said to assume position of governor in acting capacity as his principal, Rotimi Akeredolu, proceeds on another medical leave. President Bola Tinubu says the federal government will prioritize public interest to achieve universal health coverage as he unveils Nigeria's health sector renewal compact. Hello and welcome to Politics Today on Channels Television, reaching you live from our Lagos studio. I'm Jeffrey Uzongo. Every weekday at this time, we try to aggregate all we've been tracking in the policy in an hour-long programming to help make sense of what's going on in our dear country, Nigeria. So let's tell you that we are keenly following the political development in Rivers State and also the latest happenings in Ondo politics. But first, President Bola Tinubu has emphasized Nigeria's commitment to achieving universal health coverage, maintaining that health is now on the front burner. He was speaking during the commemoration of the World Universal Health Coverage Day and the presidential unveiling of Nigeria's health sector renewal compact between the federal government, all the 36 state governors, and development partners in Abuja. The federal government says Nigeria is adopting a more coordinated approach to achieving the desired improvement in health of all Nigerians.
Delivering improved quality health is an underplaying factor in my promise of renewal for all Nigerians. I believe that good population health is both a cause as well as a consequence of economic development. I also know that by increasing investment in health, Nigeria will be accelerating its human capital accumulation and development, likely to enhance our productivity for current and future generations, yielding potential demographic dividend. That is why in our 2024 budget proposal, we have increased allocation to health and social welfare as key elements for our nation's human capital development. Recognizing the importance of primary health care as the cornerstone of a resilient, integrated healthcare system, my administration is embarking on massive effort from 2024 to refurb physical infrastructure, equipment, and retraining of frontline health workers in collaboration with all the 36 states.
President of Nigeria, Bola Tinubu. Now, away from all that the president has been given as assurances, the leadership of the Nigeria's Electoral Management Body, IPAC, has sworn in 9 electoral commissioners who were appointed by President Bola Tinubu. The chairman of IPAC, Professor Mahmoud Yakubu, who led them to take their oath of office at IPAC headquarters in Abuja, has charged the newly sworn-in regs to operate within the provisions of the country's electoral laws, as the commission will not hesitate to punish any erring officer. Now, this is the last meeting, quarterly meeting, where the chairman reviews the activities of the commission alongside the resident electoral commissioners, and it is also the first time they are meeting since the conduct of the recent off-cycle election, that's in Kogi, Imo, and Bayelsa states. Now, it appears there is a brewing crisis among members of the Inter-Party Advisory Council, who today stormed out of the party headquarters over alleged tenure elongation by the national chairman, Mr. Ayedatiwa. The members they are divided over the tenure of the present executive, which expires tonight. And some of them insist that election must hold today. However, the national chairman of IPAC, Mr. Ayedatiwa, explains that the motions were raised and a transition committee has been constituted with him as the chairman to steer the affairs of the council until the 18th of December, when election for new executives will be conducted.
As we speak, IPAC does not have leadership. From 2009, there's no IPAC leadership. And there was no any...
You can see that altercation right there. So we're following through with that IPAC story to see whether eventually, which side will eventually emerge victorious, as the chairman has already said. But before we get into our main conversation today, let's bring you some of the happenings that have been going on in the world of politics on our political roundup stories.
The Upper Legislative Chamber has suspended the receipt of their December salaries to assist the survivors and families of the accidental military drone airstrikes in Tudumbiri village, Kaduna State. The resolution followed a motion sponsored by the Deputy Senate President, Barau Jibrin, who briefed the House on this decision taken when he led a delegation of senators on a courtesy visit to the Kaduna State Government House on Sunday. The Upper Legislative Chamber equally observed a minute silence in honor of the victims. Plenary adjourns to December 20 to continue with budget deliberations on the 2024 Appropriations Bill. The presidential candidate of the Labour Party in the 2023 presidential election, Mr. Peter Obi, is asking the federal government to provide adequate funding for the military and other security agencies to enhance their operations. Mr. Obi made the call when he visited victims of the recent accidental drone attack in Tudumbiri village in Igabi local government area of Kaduna State. During his visit to the Barau Diko Teaching Hospital in the state capital, he notes that the country has so far recorded 16 accidental military bombings that have claimed over 500 lives. He wants the federal government to avert reoccurrence of such tragedies. Meanwhile, the Sultan of Sokoto, His Eminence, Alhaji Sahad Abubakar, says the Muslim community will not rest until justice is done for victims of the accidental drone attack on Tudumbirim village of Kaduna State. The Sultan made his known during the annual Jamaatul Nasr Islam JNI Central Council Conference in Mina, the Niger State capital. The Sultan, who is the President General of the Jamaatul Nasr Islam, adds that the annual meeting could not hold for the last 5 years due to insecurity, especially in northern Nigeria. The governor of Kogi State, Yahaya Bello, has presented a total budget estimate of 258.27 billion naira to the State House of Assembly for approval. Of the presentation, 145.7 billion naira, representing 56.4% of the total budget, is proposed for recurrent expenditure, while 112.54 billion naira, representing 43.57%, is for capital expenditure. Governor Bello explained that the budget will focus on the continued provision of physical infrastructure, human capital development, job creation, wealth creation, and poverty reduction in the state. However, the 2024 budget estimate in Kogi State tagged the budget of consolidation and continuity for inclusive growth is the last budget of the governor's administration. Over to Abia State, where Governor Alex Oti has signed the Greater Aba Development Authority Bill into law, describing it as a major step towards paying special attention to the commercial city, Aba. According to him, this bill will enable the government to make conscious efforts to improve the ease of doing business and give special focus to Aba and the entire state. The federal government has announced plans to extend its tax drive to the National Vehicle Registry. The Minister of Finance and Coordinating Minister of the Economy, Mr. Wale Adun, made the announcement at a sensitization seminar on National Vehicle Registry in Abuja. He explains that the government will continue to seek ways to boost revenues to provide better and efficient services for the people. The federal government had initiated the National Vehicle Registry, an information system that will curb the evasion of duty payment on imported vehicles and eliminate the sale of stolen, accident-wrecked, and unsafe vehicles from the Nigerian market.
Welcome back. And of course, this is politics today. We're tracking everything that has to do with the world of politics. And yesterday, you heard the story. We brought it here, and we did talk to the people that were concerned. The politics in Rivers State, as I said yesterday, the politics in Rivers State is not for the faint-hearted. Just barely 7 months into the life cycle of the new administration of Governor Siminalayi Fubara, already we are seeing all kinds of political gimmicks going on for and against him. And so we're going to explore all of that today. But besides what is going on in Rivers State, there's a new development in Ondo State. Just a few moments ago, today, we saw a press release. It's saying that the governor will be proceeding on a medical leave. And in his place, he will transfer power to his deputy, who will take charge of the state as acting governor, while the governor takes care of himself outside the country. And that particular issue we've been discussing it since last week, and it will be one of the things we'll be focusing on today on the show. So I'm being joined on the program by a Leonard Silk, and of course, a politician, an indigene of Ondo State, to explore what exactly is going on in Ondo State. There are backstories to what eventually culminated into what's going on today in that state. I'm being joined on the program from Ondo State, Dr. Tunji Abayomi. Dr. Tunji, thank you so much for joining us on the program.
Well, good evening. The audio is a little, the network is not as good, but we'll manage.
So that for clarity, can you hear me a bit better now so we can have a clear conversation? Can you hear me better now, sir?
Yes, but the problem is a little husky from your end. I think maybe it's in network. It's a little husky, you know.
Okay.
So we're simply trying to manage. I think I don't understand. I think it may be from your end.
No, not a problem.
Can you hear me very well?
We can hear you loud and clear. We can hear you loud and clear. So we must first of all empathize with the people of Ondo State, especially Governor Rotimi Akeredolu, over his health. And we must say here we wish him a very speedy recovery as he follows up in managing his health. So let's put that first before we get into this conversation. But first, we saw the press release by Governor Akeredolu's people of him proceeding on medical leave and the transmission of power. Why did it take this long to eventually do what a lot of people may have been agitating for? Let us say.
I think you may need to adjust your audio on your end.
Can you hear me now,
this
sir?
End. No, I can hear you, but it's understanding. The problem is not there in you.
Okay,
but
so
the clarity of your word.
Okay, so let me take it slowly.
It's not the clarity of your expression.
Okay, let me take it slowly. I said that we saw a release earlier today that Governor Akeredolu will be proceeding on medical leave and he will be transmitting power to his deputy beginning from tomorrow. So my question is, a lot of people have been agitating for this for a while. Why did it take this long for it to happen?
What did you say?
All right. You know, technology sometimes is not a silver bullet. So we will try to sort out that technical glitch. As soon as we sort it out, we'll get back to Ondo State. I did tell you there are two issues we're going to talk about today. Ondo politics, especially that has to do with the health of the governor as well as the transfer of power. But let's now head over to what's going on in Rivers State, where yesterday we saw 27 members of the House of Assembly defecting from the PDP rather, to the APC. And we did have a conversation with one of those who defected, giving us his reasons for defection and the reason of the 27 members. So we'll now head to our Abuja studio to talk to a senior advocate of Nigeria, Mr. Michael Zekome, who is joining us from our Abuja studio. Mr. Senior advocate, can you hear me? Good evening to you, sir.
Yeah, good evening.
And thank you for joining us on the program.
Yeah, good evening.
Well, I don't know what you make of what is going on, but before we go to the politics of Rivers State, but let's just get back to Ondo State for a moment, because that's one of the major reasons why we brought you here. Let's get back to the issue of Ondo State. Let's talk about what you make of what's going on with Governor Akeredolu's health.
Let me start by saying I sympathize and empathize with Governor Akeredolu. We call him popularly Akiti, my longtime friend. We were friends right from Ife in the 70s, University of Ife, when we were also members of the Kegites, Pan Wine Drinkers Club. In those days, we didn't used to have all these secret courts and all that. We carry calabash on our heads and dance on the streets from Ududuwa Hall to Moremi Hall to Awolowo Hall to Fajiri Hall. So he's been a long-time friend of mine, And to say my heart bleeds that he's indisposed is an understatement. It shows the ephemerality of man on earth, the mortality of man on earth, that we are just nothing but like the dew of the sky that appeareth now and disappeareth the next moment. Governor Akeredolu first made it clear to all of us in 2019, February, that he had gone abroad on medical sojourn. It was not well. Well, nobody knew the extent of the health challenge or how serious. But this year, last year also, he went abroad. But this year alone, it became more public because his last public appearance was actually on the 17th of May when the Cocoa Council paid him a courtesy visit. Then we noticed that on the 22nd of May, when the Dangote refinery was being commissioned in Ondo State, he was conspicuously as absent. Ditto when President Bola Ahmed Tinubu was inaugurated on 29th May, and also when the APC Governors Forum met, of whom I think is the chairman of the Progressive Governor Forum of then. Now, that has raised eyebrows, not only by people from Ondo State, but by Nigerians, concerned Nigerians, as to the real truth about his state of health. Is he so critically ill that he has to be physically away from his base in Ondo State, which is Akure, the state capital, and then staying in his house, I think in Bodija, Ibadan? Who has seen him? Who are those of us seeing him? In fairness to him, under Section 119 of the Constitution, he has again transmitted power any time and every time he was going abroad or he said he was indisposed, which makes the lawyer in him to come out as a lawyer that follows rule of law. This was the situation that did not take place in 2009 when the then president, Umaru Yar'Adua, was critically ill, and the hawks in the presidency would not want the world to know the state of his health. Even when he was flown to Saudi Arabia, they hid it from Nigerians. They continued to dish out government handout that, oh, Yar'Adua was very well. Nothing was wrong with him. At times on Friday, they will put a convoy of vehicles out there on the streets, going around Abuja in a way of power show to show that the president was on ground, he was physically around. Whereas he was physically in Saudi Arabia. And then on another occasion, they will say, okay, they will agree that he was in Saudi Arabia, but that they saw him jogging and he was running up the stairs. If the situation got so bad that his absence was now affecting governance in Nigeria. Because of that, the Senate had to meet. Because under Section 144 and 145 of the Constitution, the president ought to have transmitted a letter to the Senate, which would be published in the Federal Government Gazette, that he would be away from Nigeria for a specified period. He did not do that. Was he infirm of health? Was he insane? Was he so critically ill that nobody could see him and he could not govern a multifarious country like Nigeria? That was the question. So the Senate met and adopted and proclaimed the doctrine of necessity to make the then Vice President, Dr. Goodluck Ebele Jonathan, acting president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. And this was on the 9th of February 2009. He was to be in that acting capacity until 2010 when he was pronounced fully president, and then 2011 when he now won his election for the first time as president, and he was there up to 2015. So the case of Ondo reminds us of that scenario, because like I always tell us, we have a problem in Nigeria, not only in Nigeria, but in Africa. And that problem is one of short memory, selective amnesia, like the Bourbons of European history, that learned nothing and forgot nothing, to the extent that even after the Treaty of Versailles in 1919, that after the end of the First World War, leading to the League of Nations, the Second World War still broke out between 1940 and 1945, leading to the destruction of the twin cities of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. That short memory is what is haunting us now. A governor going by section 215 and 216 of the Constitution is not just the chief executive officer of his state. He is also the chief security officer in charge of the security of his state. And we saw the wonderful and endearing role he played about 2-3 years ago when bandits were ransacking Ondo State, and how he came out vociferously and very strongly to oppose it, but to say we can accommodate these people, but within certain defined perimeters. So I think, if you ask me, I don't want to be involved in their politics. I'm politically non-aligned, whether you are PDP, APC, Labour Party. I'm not usually interested because I'm loyal to all of them. But what I do want to advise is that the deputy governor to whom power has been transmitted by the letter of the governor should be in an acting capacity, which is what the Constitution says in section 190. With the House of Assembly, with the House of Assembly be bold enough, for example, under section 189, subsection 1, to declare the governor permanently incapable of governing, in which case they will have to set up a medical board comprising of 5 medical doctors and the governor's own doctor to say he's no longer capable of governing at all. These are his appointees, members of the state executive council.
Let us check, if I may.
So that's this the issue.
Yes, I'm happy you touched on it because some are excited that, okay, eventually the governor is going to transmit later a letter to the State Assembly to hand over power to his deputy in acting capacity. But there's a controversy when it comes to issues of signature and transmitting that letter. Some are saying, let it be by doctrine of necessity because in their view it's incapacitated. So there are two calls here. The first call is that it should be by doctrine of necessity if they feel is incapacitated. The other ones are saying, let sleeping dogs lie and let them follow due process. But the fear is that there is an allegation of signature forgery where monies have been approved that allegedly did not, those approvals that were not coming from the governor because they forged his signature, and they are afraid that if this happens, it's going to invalidate what they are trying to do. I don't know, at this point in your view, from what you've seen, which is most appropriate right now in the Ondo situation? If the allegation of the people who feel is incapacitated is true, is it the issue of transmitting power via a letter or by doctrine of necessity?
Yes, it's a very critical question, and it's very sensitive. You have the hawks and the doves. The hawks who want him out of power due to power play, brinkmanship. The doves who want him to stay put in power. Don't forget that some people even accuse his wife and child of taking over governance, while some people are saying that the deputy governor is being very overambitious, having voting ambition to take over. I think the truth lies in between. Some people must move forward, and the other people must move forward to have a middle course. The question is, even if the governor, as he has done now, transmits power to the deputy governor for the next 3 months, will 3 months be enough for him to be healthy enough to return to Akure to take over the reins of governance? Those who don't want him to go, don't forget, because power is an aphrodisiac, an intoxicant. The more of it you drink, the more you want to drink. Those who are close to him will not want him to abdicate, to use that word, in quote, office, by fully transmitting power to say, hello, enough is enough. I am not well. Let me take care of my health. Because it is only the living that governs. It's not the dead that governs. If you ask me, if I were my good friend, Akiti, Governor Rotimi Akeredolu, trust me, I will say there is nothing in power. I call it the ephemerality of power.
If I may butt in,
hell with this power, take this power and let me take care of my health so as to leave Ondo State politics quietly while he mends his health and then come back as a full citizen of this country. That's what I would advise. All this question of transmitting,
my apologies. Let's now go back to Dr. Tunji Abayomi. We've been trying to establish connection with him. Dr. Tunji, can you hear me clearly now, sir?
Yeah. I'm able to hear you now. It's been an ordeal, trying to connect.
Not a problem. Your input is quite important. The Leonard Silk has mentioned a couple of things because the issue sometimes is a bit convoluted. There are undercurrents here and there. I don't know what you make of the situation. As I did ask, and I'm going to pose the same question to you. Some say, let sleeping dogs lie. Let the governor transmit power, transfer power to his deputy through the letter he will transmit to the State House of Assembly. Some are saying, no, don't do that, because there is an allegation of signature forgery, which will invalidate what's been going on. Others are saying invoke Section 189 that will tell the ESCO, make that resolution and transmit as well. And some are suggesting doctrine of necessity. I don't know what you make of this precarious situation, if you will.
First of all, first and foremost, there is nothing like a doctrine of necessity in a constitutionalized government. A government that is based on a written constitution. We don't talk of the doctrine of necessity. The presumption of any constitution or in any constitutionalized government, I'm talking of the written constitution, is that all powers are imputed and that all challenges are resolvable through the constitution. So we forget the doctrine of necessity. There's nothing like that, since we have a constitution. The second issue is, I think a whole lot of noise, necessary noise, is made about this issue of signature. The truth of the matter is, depending on your situation, I will be 74 this year. I'm very healthy. I do exercises. But whenever I want to sign, my hand shakes. So periodically, because the problem of aging. So when you're talking of forged signature, you have to be very sure. Now, when is a signature forged? I think it's when the person alleged to have made that signature denies the authenticity of that signature. So it's an allegation of doubtful veracity, as far as I'm.
Dr. Abayomi, if I may butt in, just to follow up on what you're saying, so that we establish where this is coming from. The CSO had actually conducted a forensic analysis on this, and they petitioned the DSS, the NSA, the EFCC on this particular issue. In fact, that issue emanated from within the government of Rotimi Akeredolu when a letter was communicated or transmitted to the deputy governor saying, this is what is going on and I have my suspicion. I'm going to take personal risks at my personal liberty to pursue this. So I'm just painting the scenario for you, sir. So
yes, I saw that.
Go ahead, sir.
I saw the letter written by a commissioner.
Did you see the forensic report?
I saw the forensic report presented by a commissioner, one of the commissioners.
Okay.
And I saw all of that. But I also saw the denial from the government end, isn't it? So where are we? It was denied by the Speaker for the government that the allegation is not true. The whole essence is that the signature is irregular. There's a difference between an irregular signature and a forged signature. A forged signature is where you make a signature without the authority or approval of the person who is alleged to have signed it. That's a forged signature. An irregular signature is in conformity with the well-known signature of the signer, so to say. That's a difference. The allegation of a forged signature is, of doubtful authenticity and veracity. That's my position. If
I may add a layer to it, Dr. Abayomi, before I go to Professor Zekome on this, the premise for some of those people who are agitating for this that I've read is the fact that although they are not doctors, but they are alleging in terms of his lucidity to be able to even maybe write and all of that. That's why they strongly feel that it's about forgery, like you were explaining the difference between irregular and forgery. I just wanted to put that out for you.
Yeah, well, I appreciate that, but the point is that the Constitution...
But do you see their point of view, Dr. Abayomi, do you see their point of view?
Well, their point of view is based on ascertainable presumption. That's the issue. And I'm saying to you, the Constitution does not allow that kind of presumption. If we are talking of lucidity, capacity, and capacitation, the Constitution prescribes how it's to be determined. It's to be determined as it is expected to be determined in any jurisdiction worldwide by medical experts. In our Constitution, I think it's under Section 190. No, not Section 180 something.
Section 189. Section 189. 189.
189. Yes. It's under Section 189. It prescribes how permanent incapacity is to be determined. You will appreciate that even in that case, because the Constitution wants to avoid that has no compassion for the unhealthy. That's why it says that even the physician of the governor must partake in determining the permanent incapacity of the governor. It's not based on presumption at all. And we're not now talking of, because let us make something very, very clear. Illness does not remove a governor from office at all. A governor can be ill. After all, we have over 35 disabled people in this country.
Dr. Abayomi, if I may button, sir, so I can go to our Abuja studios to get the view of Professor Zekome. Professor Zekome, we've taken the conversation a bit further with the issue of the signature forgery, that some people are insisting that this must not be swept under the carpet, given the fact that, let peace reign. I don't know what you make of it vis-a-vis how this impacts governance while the learned silk is struggling with his health.
And it is a criminal offense that has to be proved beyond reasonable doubt under the Evidence Act, laws of the Federation of Nigeria, 2011, or the Evidence Act of 2011. I want to say that before you can talk about a Taiwan, as we put it in local parlance, there must be a Japan. In other words, before you can talk of a forgery, it has to be original. You cannot talk about a forged document without comparing it with the original document. So for anybody to say the governor's signature was forged, you have to put it side by side. Forensic experts, we have to be called in to put it side by side. It's usually known signature to show that there's a remarkable difference between the two. Irregularity the fact that a line that ought to be long was made a little shorter is not what leads to a signature being bad. But to me, all these are mere cacophonous voices. These are pursuing the trifles while the house is on fire. I regard it as nothing but Baba, Salas, Lawada, Kerikeri histrionics.
Prof.
We can't be talking about governance of a state, which is a very serious, critical matter. And I've even had some people, even some lawyers say, oh, a governor can govern from anywhere he wants. Some people even said it during the Ayedatiwa time. And I said, what kind of constitutional interpretation is that? There are 36 states in Nigeria.
Prof,
and the governor is supposed to govern from his seat of power. How will a governor govern from another state? So I think they should find a middle course. That was how I defined it. Because you cannot say the governor is permanently, he suffers permanent incapacity to govern. When you have not subjected him to a medical examination by a medical board set up by the Speaker of the State House of Assembly, consisting of about 6 medical practitioners, including the governor's own medical doctor.
Prof.
You cannot base it on supposition or on guesswork, yes.
That would be a good place to hang it for this particular segment. I must thank you for your thought on this particular issue. And of course, I know that there's a lot to talk about on this particular issue. Tomorrow, we expect that the deputy governor takes over when that power is transmitted or transferred to him. But that will be a very good
my final point on this is that
I just want to 10 say, seconds, please, 10 seconds, just 10 seconds, because we're due for a break.
Yes.
For a break, 10 seconds.
Yes. Ondo people should put aside politics and get concerned about the people, the good people of Ondo State. That's just what I want to tell them. They should forget about politics.
To wrap it up. Thank you so much, Professor Michael Zekome, Senior Advocate of Nigeria, for your thoughts on what's going on in Ondo politics, as well as Dr. Tunji Abayomi, a lawyer, politician, and an indigene of Ondo State. Thank you so much for coming on the program.
Thank you, Mike. By the way.
Thank you very much.
Well, we're due for a break. When we come back after this break, we'll switch gears to River State, the development there, and bring you the publicity secretary of the People's Democratic Party to weigh in on what's happening in that state. Join us again. Welcome back. We're now head to what is going on in River State as far as the politics is concerned. Yesterday, 27 members of the House of Assembly who were members of the PDP, they moved over, they defected to the APC, and that has set some ball rolling, and everybody is taking side and grandstanding. We're going to explore all of that today on the show. But first, let's bring you the story that the High Court sitting in Port Harcourt has restrained Mr. Martins Amewule and Dumle Mao from interfering with the activities of the Edison Ehie leadership. The ex parte order, which was issued by Justice Monima Danagogo in Port Harcourt, the River State capital, warned against the use of thugs and police officers to forcefully gain access into the premises of the House of Assembly. The judge further restrained the defendants and their agents from disrupting and interfering with the exercise of their duties. However, in their reaction, the Rivers APC caretaker chairman, Mr. Antonio Kocha, disagreed with the judgment, accusing the judge of bias and threatening to report the judge to the NJC. He explained that it is a ploy to allow the governor to present the budget to 4 lawmakers, and that will be resisted. So that is coming from River State. We'll continue to follow up and see how things play out. We've been joined now on the program by the PDP National Publicity Secretary, Mr. Debo Ologunagba, who will be weighing in on the issue. We've been trying to get the PDP side of this conversation. Mr. Ologunagba, thank you so much for coming on the program.
Thank you very much, Jeffrey, for having me. Good evening.
Because it's been a hard one to get your side to speak, apart from the statement that you released yesterday. So just a quick 30 seconds overview before I jump into some things I want to find out from you. What do you make of what's going on in your party in River State?
Thank you very much. I think I need to make a correction. to the effect that it's been a long while to hear from us. The statement that we issued yesterday is actually a statement from us, and it's from us. That's hearing from us. To set the record straight as it is, and the fact that, yes, those 27 former lawmakers who defected to the All Progressive Congress have vacated their seat, and by the provision of Section 1091G specifically, they have lost their seat, and they are no longer members of the Rivers State House of Assembly. That was clearly stated. And so to say it is long in coming, I don't know how long you want it to be, but of course there was a statement yesterday that clearly stated our position as a party. And of course other things will begin to flow arising from that.
All right, that point is noted. We're talking about coming literally live on air for us to have the conversation, but that's besides the issue. Now, the PDP struggled and failed to, in some people's view, to unite before and after the election. These things have actually festered into what is considered this mass defection. And still, besides declaring their seats vacant, I mean the people that have now moved to the APC, what other potent thing is the PDP prepared to do to make a stand against what has happened?
Yeah, okay, I think some of these things we shouldn't lose the fact about how politics should be played. And the fact that there must be integrity in politics. And when we get to a point where people begin to disregard the will of the people, that should give us a cause for concern. Now, we are a party of law and order and of constitution. We rely on our own constitution and, of course, the Nigerian constitution, the 1999 Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria as amended. Now, Section 1091G stated clearly that in the event that a member of a House of Assembly defects to another party, he automatically loses his seat. And this has been tested in the court. In 2015, the Supreme Court clarified this. In the case of Ayedatiwa, Abigunde, and Ondo State House of Assembly, and others, it was clearly stated that once you defect, provided there's no division or faction in your party, then you lose that seat. In March 2022, in the Cross River State case, Justice Taiwo made it very clear, and this is what is sobering. He says in one of the statements in the judgment that he hopes that one day it will be the issue that as soon as you leave the platform that you sought election, because under our laws, there are no independent candidates. You can only be a member of a House of Assembly or other elected position in the legislature when you are sponsored by a political party. PDP sponsored the former lawmakers in Rivers State, 27 of them, and haven't left that.
Mr. Logo Agba, if I may button, so that we can pack in as much as possible. The premise of their defection, they've said it time and again. We listened to the Martins Ameulu faction saying, look, there is a disagreement over who the national secretary of your party is. They accused the governor of abuse of power, intimidation. They reeled out all kinds of, a couple of accusations as a reason for the division in the party, because there's a provisor, even in Section 1091G, beneath that says that there's a division in the party. That could be a premise to leave the party. So they cited the fact that there's a clear division in your... Hold on, just a minute, Mr. Deborah. The fact, I started by saying that, look, before the election, there were issues in your party. After the election, there were still issues in your party. And they are basing this uniquely to themselves in terms of what's going on at the national level. They cited the national secretary. You may be able to clear that. And of course, what is going on within the party in Rivers State as a basis, which there's a proviso for within 1091G for them to excuse themselves within the party.
Well, I thank you, Jeffrey. But again, like I said, when people want to be mischievous, they can hide under anything. But the good thing is that the Constitution is so clear. And like I said earlier, in 2015, that provision, that proviso to that constitutional provision of Section 109(1)(g) had been made. And the proviso is when there is a faction or division in the party. Now, PDP is one. PDP has one chairman. PDP has one national working committee. How they come about and saying that there's a division in the party, I don't know. But again, I'm sure by now, I know by now that the 27 members will have known that this is actually a futility, that they've lost their position. The Supreme Court had ruled, and it is clear. In any event, our party has taken action, and we're taking actions relating to that so that that declaration of their seat being vacant will be permanent. There are series of actions that will be taken. But it is completely fraudulent. It is completely irresponsible for them to say there's a division in the party. Yes, as a political party, just like any other human organization, we have challenges because politics is about interest, about individual, depending from cultural, from personal views. But in a party, you come together and try to reconcile that. That we're doing. The fact that there are no noise in other political parties does not mean they don't have issues that they can talk about. We know we accepted that, but we're working on that, and it's a work in progress where you have human interests involved. But it's completely fraudulent. Sorry, if I can finish. Can I finish? That it is completely fraudulent, it is untrue, but the good part of it is the fact that the Supreme Court had ruled on that. The court in Cross River State in March 2022 echoed that. And we'll see how this goes. But we do know that no crisis in our party, no division in the party, no faction in the party. The PDP is one, and they have gone on a voyage that they know by now, they know it was the wrong move to make, irrespective of what the constitution might be.
Mr. Logo, but I wanted to bring to your notice that even in Section 109, if you look at subsection 2, given the arithmetic of what is going on, 27 as against 4, at the end of the day, the input of the speaker is required for some of these declaring seat vacant is necessary. And now there's a division. They have greater majority in terms of numbers, and these other people are 4. And so if the speaker has to be involved according to Section 109, subsection 2 of the Constitution, what magic is meant to happen next for the seat to be declared vacant?
It's not an issue of magic.
But I'm talking about what the Constitution says.
A court order. Absolutely, and I'm trying to respond to that. In a precursor in the opening, you mentioned the fact that there's a court order that says that the 27 former lawmakers should not interfere in the activity of the assembly. There's a speaker. The speaker has a duty to declare those seats vacant pursuant to the provisions of the Constitution.
Mr. Debo, who is the speaker? Who is the speaker?
Mr. Ayedatiwa, you said that yourself. It's a court order that confirmed that. Mr. Ayedatiwa, or Honorable Ayedatiwa, is the speaker, and he has all the duties and all the powers of that office to declare the 27 vacant seats vacant formally. And we are asking, and we actually asked INEC to conduct elections to fill those vacancies. In any event, when you talk about presenting budget, in that same constitution, there are provisions for the governor to continue to execute within, if the budget is already within a period, he has a window to continue to carry on and manage the economy of the state in line with the previous year budget. So there's no problem here. All the speaker needs to do right now is to go ahead, declare those seats vacant, continue the work of the state, and then but let me close this up.
Look,
I think
just 10 seconds, just 10 seconds, please.
Is that each time, yeah, thank you. What is important here is that the sadness about people in position where people that voted for them, in their view, is not important. And I think that should be a food for thought as we develop in this democracy.
Thank you so much, Mr. Adebo. That's a very good place to learn. Mr. Adebo Ologunagba, the National Publicity Secretary of the People's Democratic Party. Thank you for your thoughts on this particular issue in Rivers State. Thank you for joining us. We appreciate you. And of course, that's it on the program for today. Thank you so much for your time and company. Jeffrey Uzongo. God bless Nigeria.
Hello, welcome to Democracy 101 in 5. My name is Ibrahim Farouk. This show provides you with the right information you need to make democracy work for you. Democracy 101 in 5 is an initiative of Yaga Africa with the support of the FCDO. Now, to today's topic, what are the various law enforcement agencies and their duties? We went to the streets and we got some answers. Watch.
Various law enforcement. We have the army,
the Nigerian police force.
Like a police, they are arrest.
Nigerian army, same defending Nigeria.
Let's start with the agency that usually comes to mind when security is mentioned in any country. That's the police, right? The Nigerian police is responsible for maintaining general law and order within the country. Section 214 of the 1999 Constitution as amended says there shall be a police force for Nigeria, which shall be known as the Nigerian Police Force, and no other police force shall be established for the Federation or any part thereof. There may be a lot more expected of the police, but here's a summary of the statutory functions of the police. 1 is the prevention and detection of crime. 2, the apprehension of offenders. 3, the preservation of law and order. Number 4 is the protection of life and property. And number 5 is the performance of such military duties within and outside Nigeria as may be required of them by or under the authority of the Police Act or any other act. Another security agency helping to maintain peace and order in the country is the Nigeria Security and Civil Defense Corps, also known as NSCDC. It was established by Act 3 of 2003 and amended in 2007. How about the Federal Road Safety Corps, FRSC? It's another law enforcement agency with a long list of responsibilities. But let us summarize them. They are primarily expected to prevent or minimize accidents on the highway by doing the following: clearing obstructions on any part of the highways, designing and producing the driver's license to be used by various categories of vehicle operators, determining and enforcing speed limits for all categories of roads and vehicles, and controlling the use of speed limiting devices. Next, we'll talk about the roles of the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency, NDLEA. They are clear and straightforward. They are responsible for stopping and fighting drug trafficking and drug abuse. Next is the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC. The act establishing the commission was first enacted in 2002 and amended in 2004. The act commissions the EFCC to combat economic and financial crimes. The State Security Service, SSS, now known as the Department of State Services, DSS, is one of the agencies charged with the detection and prevention of crimes and threats against the internal security of Nigeria. Its primary responsibility includes the collection of intelligence for good governance and national safety. It ensures the protection of the state and its officials, citizens, critical resources, and infrastructure from domestic threats. Finally, the Nigerian Customs Service, which is responsible for managing Nigeria's borders, revenue collection along the borders, and anti-smuggling activities. That's Democracy 101 in 5. We want to hear from you. You can reach us on any of our handles on Facebook, on X, formerly known as Twitter, and on Instagram as well. You can also watch this episode and other episodes on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/@yaga1. Thank you for watching. My name is Ibrahim Farouk. Remember, you have the power to make democracy work for you. Use it. See you next time. Bye for now.